The Assassin's Creed series has received a somewhat lukewarm reception recently, ever since the older games started to follow the pattern of the same game with just a different coat of paint on it. While the series did get a huge shakeup with the release of Assassin's Creed Origins, the game went from being a social stealth game to a full-blown RPG with level caps and dialogue choices. Games like AC Odyssey and Valhalla doubled down on the RPG mechanics, which gave the series a new sense of identity, but at the same time left its old one behind. Some people just don't think that the newer games are Assassin's Creed enough, and with the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows, which finally takes us to the much requested setting of Japan, it looks like the series is trying to go back to its stealth roots, but at the same time keeping much of its RPG combat elements. So, how is Assassin's Creed Shadows? Does it breathe new life into a series that is already starting to stagnate? Join us here at Game8 as we get on with our review. Assassin's Creed Shadows takes place in 16th century Japan during the start of the Azuchi Momoyama period, and it follows the story of two protagonists, Naoe, a shinobi from the Iga region, and Yasuke, a samurai and retainer to Oda Nobunaga. At the start of the game, events transpire in Naoe's village, and it's these events that set her on the path of revenge as she hunts down those responsible for the events that happened that night. It is in this journey that she comes to meet Yasuke, and the two decide to form a partnership to help stop the people who would take advantage of the conflicts happening around Japan. The game does a great job of making both Naoe and Yasuke endearing and relatable, and seeing them work together despite their circumstances made for an interesting story point. Since the game is an RPG, it also features a lot of dialogue choices that could shape the world around you. You have to be careful about which dialogue choice you pick, as that decision may affect you in the future. But for those who prefer to not think about these things, the game has a canon mode option when starting a new game. Canon mode removes all the dialogue options and instead picks the canon option for these decisions. This is great for people who just want to enjoy the story and not have to worry about what ending they'll get based on their choices. It also wouldn't be an Assassin's Creed game if they didn't introduce some historical figures and events as well. AC is known for taking place in very significant points in history, so it would be no surprise that we get to meet some well-known figures that appeared during this era, with names like Hattori Hanzo and Oda Nobunaga appearing in the game. Our one complaint about the story is that it gets a bit too fragmented at times, as the story jumps back and forth quite a bit with some of the story behind told in flashbacks. While fans of the series are used to these jumps in the timeline, it could get confusing for players who are not used to the way AC tells their story. Another thing we'd like to mention is that some important story moments are only accessible when you do the side content, such as learning more about Naoe's past, but this gives players a reason to explore the world. Speaking of exploring the world, Assassin's Creed Shadows sticks with the formula of open world that was introduced in games like Origins and Odyssey. You are dropped into a large open world with quite a lot of things to do and discover. But what makes the game different though is the introduction of two playable characters who have both entirely different playstyles. You have Naoe, who has the more traditional AC gameplay where you stick to the shadows. Get it? Waiting for the perfect time to strike at your target, while Yasuke is focused on the combat side as he can take out large groups of enemies with ease. It feels like they are trying to cater to both the fans of the pre-RPG and post-RPG games of this series by splitting the gameplay loops into two characters. While you technically can go into combat using Naoe or even stealth as Yasuke, it is when you play them in their elements that they truly shine. As Naoe, you must sneak past enemies and use whatever tools you have to distract or take out enemies in the many areas of the map. This is where the much improved stealth system comes into play. The stealth gameplay in AC Shadows is probably the best out of the series of RPG Assassin's Creed, as the game puts a huge emphasis on staying in the shadows. Hiding in the shadows of buildings and castle walls makes it harder for enemies to spot you. Even more so at night, when sticking to these areas allows you to bypass a lot of guards. This makes you feel like a true shinobi as you slowly make your way under the cover of darkness to reach your target, which adds more immersion into the game. Another new feature that has been added that enhances the stealth gameplay is the ability to go prone and crawl. I know, right? Going prone in an AC game? Never thought we needed this until now. Going prone allows you to hide and crawl through small spaces to avoid being detected. All these make the stealth segments a lot more engaging, as these new mechanics to the series allow you more ways of getting to your objective. Now, if you're looking for a more frontal approach though, then Yasuke is your best bet. Yasuke's abilities are tailored to fighting enemies head-on and making short work of any foe you come across. Yasuke has access to a variety of different weapons, like his trusty long katana or a naginata, and all these weapons are focused on dealing a lot of damage and quickly dispatching large groups of enemies. As we played more of Yasuke, we did realize that the game becomes quite easy when you use him, as he is able to breeze through some of the more difficult encounters that would otherwise be more difficult for Naoe. But don't expect Yasuke to do any climbing or quick escapes, as he is unable to scale walls or parkour as Naoe does. There's even a funny animation in which Yasuke tries to do an iconic leap of faith onto a pile of hay and just ends up falling out of it. While you can technically do some stealth gameplay with Yasuke, especially when you equip him with a bow, he isn't really made for stealth, as he isn't as quiet as someone like Naoe. Enemies will notice Yasuke more, as he tends to make a lot more noise even when he crouches down. It also makes sense that since Yasuke is a foreigner, he tends to draw more attention from the local populace. With that being said, it is up to the player on how you want to tackle your objectives, and having a choice between the stealthy Naoe or the warrior Yasuke, which shakes up how you play through the game. The game's exploration is also a huge improvement from the previous RPG titles, as the game encourages you to travel more to unlock more information about quests or locations. You may come across some random encounters as you travel, and stopping by and doing these will give you hints on things like viewpoints or even point you to some side quests in the region, which makes exploration in this game pretty immersive. Another big feature in the AC Shadows is the introduction of seasons and how it affects how you approach certain tasks. Each season changes the look of the world, and it also changes the environment too. This season gives you a reason to go back to already explored areas, as each season has its own advantages and disadvantages. Places that have bushes for hiding spots may be gone during the winter, as the leaves have already fallen off, which in turn makes you try to find another way to get past the guards. The game also gives you and your allies a hideout early on, and this is where you'll be doing a lot of your upgrading and equipment management. The hideout system plays a big role in progressing through the game, and isn't just a static thing you can visit, as you can customize your hideout to truly make it unique. It plays out as a sort of base building in which you position the buildings and decorations to your heart's content. And these buildings aren't for show either, as building certain lots can help you out with upgrading your equipment, as well as making exploration a lot easier. An example of this is building a forge that allows you to upgrade old equipment to match your level in case you are drawn to certain legendary armor or weapons. The forge also gives you access to the transmog system, in which you can apply other armor looks to the one you prefer using. And let us tell you, the transmog for the weapons is a big selling point in getting the forge early, as customizing your weapons took quite a bit of time during our playthrough. Each weapon you get has different parts, and you can mix and match them to make your own unique look for your arsenal. It's honestly a great system that we hope they keep in the future. You can decorate the hut with some, well, decorations. You can find some furniture and landscapes in chests scattered around the world, and adding these spices up your hideout. The hideout gives you access to scouts, which help with exploration. These scouts can narrow down target locations, so you are not just blindly wandering looking for the objective. They also bring back resources that you have tagged around the world, which help with upgrading your hideout further. However, it is worth noting that the scout resources are limited and refreshed at the end of each season, so you have to use this sparingly. Oh, and how could we forget to mention that you can also add pets to your hideout? Once you pet an animal found in the world, you can add them as pets into your hideout. So... yes, surrounded by adorable kittens. This is bliss. Now, the game does have a few problems when it comes to gameplay. One of our complaints is that the combat can get a bit clunky at times, as there are moments where we would get hit during a fight because the camera shifts to an angle where we can't see the attacks of the enemy. Tracking and hitboxes during combat is another frustrating part of it, as there are many times when we want to hit an enemy and we end up going for an enemy further away, which leads us to taking damage. The game also features the age-old Assassin's Creed problem of janky parkour controls. While parkour is a huge movement from games like AC Valhalla, which isn't saying much, it does bring back the annoying moments of the character not going where you want to go. The game is also missing a few quality of life features that were present in previous games, like being able to change the time and the auto travel feature. The change of time is a big thing since you are forced to wait until it is nighttime so you can sneak into areas, unless you want a more difficult time sneaking. The world of AC Shadows is one of its strong points, as the scenic land of Japan was rendered beautifully. There were times when we would slow down and admire the scenery with how well made the environments are. Adding the much improved parkour animations, traversing the world of AC Shadows is an experience. Speaking of parkour, Naoe's movements through the environment look graceful and stylish. The dismounting animations as she front flips off a building look cool, and we never get tired of seeing them. This fluidity in movement also applies to the combat animations, as each strike feels impactful and weighty. The finishers also look brutal, as with Naoe, she finishes off her enemies with style, and with Yasuke, his is more on the swift and brutal side. Not all the animations are good though, as the facial expressions and cutscene animations are a hit or miss at times. It seems that Ubisoft still hasn't figured out how to make convincing facial expressions. During some important scenes, the animations are pretty well made, which adds more emotion to the scene, but there are also times when it looks like there is a drop in quality of them. There is one scene in particular where it looks like we are playing an older game with how lifeless the animations for the scenes are. As much as the visuals for the landscapes look good, there are a few graphical glitches too. From disappearing models in the distance to flickering lights, it takes away from the immersion of the game. We'd also like to talk about the frame rate in the hideout, as the PS5 in performance mode in the game is still locked in 30 FPS while you are in the hideout. This makes it jarring when travel to and from the place, as going from 60 FPS to suddenly 30 FPS in the hideout makes the game feel laggy. Another mixed bag is the voice acting in the game. While both Naoe and Yasuke are well acted, the same can't be said for some NPCs and characters you meet throughout the game.
So we are taking in strays now, are we?
There is a mode that counters this, and it's called Immersive Mode, in which the game uses whichever native language the character speaks. If the character is Portuguese, they will speak that language, and if Japanese, then they will speak that too. This mode makes it better, and as the name suggests, immersive.
Devia ter deixado no porto, ou flutuar no mar onde encontramos.
Another standout from the audio is the game's music. While the ambient exploration music is good, the cutscene music is where it's at. The game's soundtrack features some original music that makes some cutscenes much more memorable. Just take a listen to this scene. The blend of traditional Japanese sounding music with a rock theme made the fight scene so much cooler. Assassin's Creed Shadows has left us feeling a bit conflicted, as the game does some things very well and other times it falls a bit short. While the game isn't bad per se, there are quite a few things that hold it back from becoming a great Assassin's Creed game, with the clunky combat and confusing story to name a few. It plays safe by sticking to the tried and old Ubisoft open world formula that has been a staple in their old games. Depending on who you're asking, it may or may not be a good thing. But that isn't to say that the game is not enjoyable, as we did have fun exploring the world and watching Naoe and Yasuke's story. And that is why we here at GameAid are giving Assassin's Creed Shadows a 66 out of 100. So, what do you guys think about Assassin's Creed Shadows? Are you thrilled that we finally got the AC game set in Japan? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked the video, like and subscribe for more gaming related content. This has been GameAid, and we'll see you guys in the next video.